Hey guys, my name is Trevor and I'm going to cover Spacemacs Editor today. This is my favorite editor. I use it every day for work, and I'm going to talk about how to get started and what sets it apart from other editors. So first, let's come to this page. This is the Git repo for Spacemacs. That's how you install it. There are instructions down here. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because I don't have time to cover instructions for installing and all the features of Spacemacs that I want to cover. A couple things to know though, that this editor uses key commands. It doesn't use the mouse cursor to navigate and to edit files. It's all key commands. So mnemonics are going to be your friend in this. You'll see what I mean later on when we get into the actual commands. Another couple things is that this is built on Emacs. Emacs is an editor from years ago, and so there are Emacs commands built in with Spacemacs commands. The difference is Emacs commands start with control and Spacemacs starts with the spacebar command, hence the name Spacemacs. A couple of other notes is this works best on Unix-based systems, so Linux and Mac OS. Here are the install instructions. The last two things I'm going to talk about is this directory right here, .emacs.d. It's in your home folder. You need to make a backup of it after you install Emacs. And then your .spacemacs file is your config file for Spacemacs. This is where you're going to put in all of your user packages that you want to add in, like line numbers or git gutter or anything like that. Okay, so now that is out of the way, one last note: if you are using Windows, there is a way to use Spacemacs as well. You'll need to get the Emacs 164 project and then install Emacs from there. Okay, let's get started on Emacs, or Spacemacs rather. So this is how Spacemacs looks. I have the same file open in both. So a couple things before we get started. You notice some letter combinations popping up here. This is a keycaster, so you can see what keys I'm pressing. This is going to be essential in learning what we're doing because the way you navigate and the way you do everything in Spacemacs is with key combinations. So the first thing is navigation. Navigation, you use the home row. That's H, J, K, and L. So if I want to go to the right window, I'm going to press space because Spacemacs, W for Windows for the mnemonics that I mentioned earlier, and then L to go right. If I want to go back to the left, I press space W, H to go left. Now let's say I have split windows horizontally, space WS to split horizontally. Now I want to go down, space WJ to go down, space WK to go up. Now let's say I want to get rid of this window because I don't like it anymore, space WD to delete. So that's all the window navigation. Alright, moving on, next thing. So let's get into just regular file navigation. You can use the home row of keys, H, J, K, and L, in a normal file. I prefer the arrow keys just because that's what I'm used to, that's where my hand goes, but it's up to you for preference. So if you want to go to the top of the file, so let's say this is 1,000 lines long, you have 50 imports, you need to add a new one, and you're at the very bottom. You're on line 1,000. Well, go to the top, GG. Now you add your import and go down to the bottom, Shift G. If you want to go to line, say 15, GG. So a lot of cool navigation features built into Spacemacs. Now let's actually get into editing. So to edit, there are a couple ways to get into insert mode. The main one is I for insert, mnemonics again. So now I'm in insert mode, I can type some stuff. Alright, so I'm going to get out of insert mode with escape, or you can hit FD, it's a shortcut, press FD really quick. And I want to get rid of this stuff because this doesn't make sense to have ASDF repeated. U for undo, and it's gone. If I want to go to the next line, if I want to insert under this line, let's say I want to add to the try but before the print, I'm going to press O, and I'm going to insert some stuff. U to get back out of here. Whoops. Control R does a redo. That's an Emacs command. Now let's say I want to insert above print, Shift O, and this is a common pattern where the lowercase version of a key does one thing. Typically Shift or capital that key does the opposite. So GG and Shift G, top and bottom. O and capital O, again bottom and top a little bit different, but opposites, but same thing. Okay, let's talk about the kill ring. So, copy and paste. The clipboard is called the kill ring. So if I want to, kill some stuff, I'm going to select it. We'll talk about visual modes in just a second, and I'm going to kill it with D. I'm going to undo that because I don't actually want to kill it. Let's say I want to copy. We're going to use what's called yank, or Y. So yank is what copy was called back when Emacs came out. It's called yanking, Y-A-N-K. That's why it's why Y is for copying. So let's say you want to see what's in the kill ring or the clipboard because you accidentally deleted two things, and now it's like copying two things. It replaces what was in the clipboard. This is everything that I've had in the clipboard since I opened this instance of Spacemacs. So I can select any of these, put them back in, and use that as what's in my current kill ring buffer. Just a side note, these two windows are buffers. the actual like object is a buffer. So if I press space, you can see B for buffers. That's what it's referring to. All right, so you saw me select a lot of things at once, multiple lines. Those are visual modes. So if I want to select, just some characters, that's V, just lowercase v for visual. If I want to select blocks, whoops, not Control C, Control V gives me visual block mode, lets me select blocks of text, and then line is Shift V. So that's visual line mode. And this is the one I use the most because I can move things around very quickly, however I want. Okay, another cool thing, since this is Python, tabbing is important. You use the angle brackets to tab things after you put in visual mode, or visual line mode. Okay, moving on. Alright, let's get into Silver Searcher. So Silver Searcher is a package that you install. It's how you can do an easy project search. So the reason it's called Silver Searcher is because it is the AG surfer, or AG searcher. So if I press space S for search, you'll see over here AG. AG is a chemical symbol for silver. So hence the name Silver Searcher, and a little bit of play on words for Silver Surfer. So yeah, a little bit of a nerd joke there. But it's great. So Silver Searcher, so space SA, and then P for project. I want to do a project-wide search, and I'm going to look for request. So this uses regex to search, and it's going to match this text specifically, or literally, and there are 239 matches, and my whole project lists them all out, and I can scroll down with the arrow keys. But what if I want to find anything that ends in EST? So let's do dot plus because this is regex EST. So to find anything that ends in EST, and there are 417 of them in my project. Well, let's say I only want to search for the request in HTML files because I'm doing something with request HTML files. Well, I give it a file extension and say, okay, now search for request. All right, so here I have 57 files, and they're all HTML or HTML files. So super powerful tool. It's great. From here, I'm going to show you visual. What's called iEdit mode. It's how you can edit, multi-cursor is how a lot of people know it. And we're going to use Emacs command Control C, and then Control E, Helm AG Edit. Okay, so this is all of the instances of request in my project. So I'm going to do visual mode to select, and then I'm going to use what's called iEdit mode. So I've hit space, I'm going to hit S, because I'm going to search this text pattern, again regex, I'm going to search that pattern, and then I'm going to enter iEdit mode with E. Now what this does, it selects all of the occurrences of that text pattern in this window. And since this window has all of the occurrences in my whole project, I can now enter insert mode and add all of the occurrences request in my project. So it's super useful. I don't think you'd actually change request in your whole project, but I've used this several times and it's made things very, very easy. It's it's a time-saving tool because it lets you change everything the whole project instead of one directory at a time or one file at a time. But we're actually going to abort the changes. I don't want to change the request in the whole project, so we're going to do Control C, Control K to get out. And it's going to ask me, hey, do you actually want to discard these changes? And I'm going to say yes, yes I do. Get out of here. Okay, let me check my notes real quick. All right, within Spacemacs, we're not actually going to cover how to use this. I'm just going to show you the commands on how to get there. It does have Git version control, so we press space G for Git. So let me go back. So space, and then G for Git version control. Then S for status. It's going to show me the status. No, I don't want to save that file. It's going to show me the status of where I'm at on my branch in my Git version control. So I have stage changed already. I have an unstaged change because of this file. I've done some saving. An untracked file. I believe this is something that's automatically generated by Spacemacs. I don't have a git ignore set up to check for Spacemacs generated files. This project is over a year old. I wasn't using Spacemacs then, so that's why. But from here, let's look at the commands. So a lot of these should look pretty familiar if you've been using Git at all. I'm not going to cover very many of these, but you have stage, stage all, and I'll just show you those real quick. But you have fetch, merge, push, branches, commit. So everything you expect in Git. So let me show you stage and stage all. So if I want to unstage something, I'm just going to come to it, hit U. No, I don't want to save. So get out of here. And now it's in unstage changes. Let's say I want to stage everything. This is the same as git add dot. Stage changes, stage all changes. Yes. Do I want to save it? It keeps asking me because I've got this file open without saving. So I'm not going to mess with it. So it staged all the changes. I'm not actually going to stage them all, so I'm going to just quit out of this. Well, I'm actually going to unstage all of them with Shift U. Unstage all changes, yes. It's going to ask me again, do I want to save? No, I don't want to save that file. Now they're all unstaged changes. And that's all we're going to cover for Git. Super powerful, super great, because you don't have to change to command line to go do it. I know it's not that much slower to do it in command line, but it does save time. Okay, now we got to move on because we're just about out of time. I'm going to show you a couple cool things, and a couple essential things, one cool thing, and then we're going to end this tutorial. So, a couple essential things. SpaceFS is to save. Obviously you need to know how to save a file. So another thing that you need to know is, in case you name a file wrong, space F for files, and then Shift R or capital R, rename the current file. And then you rename it, make sure you have the file extension on it because it will not auto-detect it. So this would be index.py if I were to rename it. And I'm going to get out of here with Control G. Control G is your friend. If you ever get into a command, you don't know how to get out of it, you don't know what it's going to do, just Control G out, it'll cancel the command. Creating a new buffer. So as I mentioned earlier, these are both buffers. Well, let's say I want to create a new file. So I'm going to hit space because that's what we do. Then I'm going to press B for buffers and then capital N for a new buffer. And then to kill the buffer, same thing as killing a window, but selecting the buffer, we're going to space B for buffer and then D for kill. So those are the essential commands. I don't really have time to cover anything else. Couple thing, quick notes is you can use Spacemacs for any text file you want to edit, but if it's whatever directory it's in, you have to have a .projectile file in it. So what I mean, that or it has to be git repo. So .projectile or git repo. .projectile file, you just have to name, you just call a file .projectile. So if you're in command line, just touch .projectile, and you can use Spacemacs from there. If you don't have a git repo or a .projectile file, it will not detect that there's a project, and it won't let you use Spacemacs. It sounds kind of annoying, but it's really not that hard, and I still think it's worth it to use Spacemacs. Couple last notes. Be careful when you're learning to use Spacemacs. Things happen really quickly. Be careful of the combinations that you get yourself into. Don't just keep pressing buttons. You're bound to just screw things up, and you're gonna have to just quit out, restart, and hopefully you may have to re-pull down files from your Git repo or just undo a lot of changes. And the last thing is Spacemacs is not a tried and true editor. You're probably going to hit some errors. You're probably going to have some things that just aren't playing nice, like packages that don't play nice with your current version of Spacemacs. It might cause some seg faults, so you have to get those worked out. Overall, it's a great editor. I think it's something you should try out. And one last thing that I think is cool that I just remembered I was going to show you is, if you notice I have datetime imported twice, there's a tool to sort and remove imports that you don't need. So I'm going to hit space M for major mode command, R for refactor, and capital I to sort, and it got rid of that extra datetime import. So cool feature. There are lots of cool features of Spacemacs. I highly recommend it. You should give it a try if you're feeling up to it. Do not do this if you're under time sensitive work. Do it when you have a chance to learn something new. I think it's a great technology, even though it's been around forever. There's so many things in it that I haven't even touched yet, and I'm still learning new things on Spacemacs, and it's made coding a lot more efficient, and I think a lot more enjoyable because I'm not messing around with other text editors that have caused me problems in the past, like Sublime or Atom. So give it a shot, and I hope it works out for you.